can share with the other supervisors and mentors. So welcome to the meeting, everyone. If we haven't met before, I'm Rebecca Boyson-Taylor, and I have the pleasure of being the Director of Field Placement here at U of I and a clinical assistant professor. I teach social studies methods for our elementary folks, and I have taught preschool through middle school, and a lot of my former middle schoolers are now showing up here on campus, enrolling in our Foundations of Ed course and other classes. So I'm really getting that long-term small town teacher feeling right now. And I'll let Erin introduce herself.
Yeah, so hi, I am that person that you're usually emailing. Definitely email me with any of your questions. I will either answer your question or get you to the right person. I started in February, so this will be my first full semester through with people. So
yeah,
fun.
And then we have Dean Blevins and Dr. McConnell. So Dean Blevins, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm Brooke Blevins, and I have the pleasure of serving as the dean of this great college, and it's great to see all of you. And I also am supervising an intern this semester, so I'm really excited to be back in classrooms and doing this kind of coaching work. So thank you to all of you for your commitment to helping educate the next generation of teachers who will shape the future of the young minds that we have the ability to get entrusted with. So really great to see all of you here today.
Thanks, Dean Blevins. And Dean Blevins also taught high school social studies. And then we have Dr. Rodney McConnell, who places folks in the southern part of our state, and he can tell you a little bit about himself.
Well, very little bit. I like Rebecca said, I'm in Boise, and I help place student teachers across the southern part of the state.
And teach our teacher ed classes, and
yeah, I do that.
Yeah, and supervise students. And then Kirsten Pomerantz.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kirsten Pomerantz. I'm an instructor, and I'm also coordinating our elementary education program and newly coming into coordinating our practicum program. So you may be seeing emails from me as I'm working with Rebecca with our field placements. And I teach a variety of courses. I was a high school English teacher prior to this. I just came in hot from teaching EDCI or co-teaching EDCI 201, our contexts of education. So our brand new, fresh, starting to think about becoming teachers. And I'm have the pleasure of being a university supervisor again this semester. And that's it. I'll be quiet now. It's great to see everyone.
Oh, that's great, Kirsten. This is the only chance that people get to, sometimes especially the folks we work with from afar, get to see us and learn sort of who is involved in the ed program. So I love them getting little snippets of what we're up to. And then Carol Billing also is faculty at U of I. Carol, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody, I'm just jumping in the car. I'm going to listen while I drive. I know that comes as a shocker to all of you who ever been in meetings with me. I'm always in my car going somewhere, but I got kids finishing at the rink, so I'm heading over. It's great to see everybody. I'm looking forward to another year.
All right. Thanks, Carol. Drive safe. Those hockey schedules are a lot to keep up with. All right. So I'll just go over a couple key bits of information about how supervising and mentoring, like what the time frame looks like, and I'll reserve most of the time for questions. So you all should have checklists appropriate to your roles that were sent to you by Erin. So faculty supervisors and people who we've hired externally to supervise for us have one list, and mentors have a really similar one. But the supervisor's role will be to coordinate a lot of the milestones along the way. And so those lists are just slightly different. And a couple things right off the bat, thank you to those of you who have sent in your mentor and supervisor forms. If those are required of you, your packet and information from Erin would indicate it. And once she processes those, we now are on a digital W-9 system. And so you'll get an invitation from PaymentWorks that might slip into your junk mail, depending on how picky your email account is. So keep an eye out for that PaymentWorks invitation. And that helps you complete W-9s in a more secure way than the old paper system that we had. Some of you I know have been supervising with us for quite a long time, and we're just making little adjustments based on what we're learning about how to keep everyone's information safe and make paying you even easier. So that, and then an initial meeting, if you haven't had an initial meeting with the student that you're supervising or mentoring, and like the whole team coming together to meet, do that and discuss what a good observation schedule will look like, how you want to get a hold of one another, what your best, some people work better on text, some on email, and that's up to your team in terms of how you want to coordinate things. And send the dates of internship form to edinterns@uidaho.edu, just so that we confirm that we understand when the student began and when they're planning to be done. And I guess the only other dates that I think are super important are, we'll give you a wide window for the midterm evaluation, and you should have been sent a common summative assessment form last week that gives you an idea of what that digital midterm survey looks like. And you can use that digital, or you can use the PDF that we sent to take notes, to prepare for the meeting. But the university supervisor is going to be the one that receives the link to complete the survey. And they're going to be the one that's doing the typing for the group while you're having the meeting, kind of collecting everyone's thoughts together, affirming that everyone was there for the meeting by entering the names and the dates, and then pressing send, and then a copy will come back to you for your records. You can do the midterm anytime between October 1st and November 1st. So I know schools start at all different times, and when it would be sensible to do a midterm is sort of up to your team based on the schedule that your student intern is on and what's going on in the classroom. We want these to be mutually beneficial relationships. We want interns to show up and feel like you have a co-teacher, you have someone to share things with, but also to learn from. And so we want to make all of this as easy as possible, and we don't want it to interfere with things that are going on in the classroom with your students. The exact same survey will be sent to you again for the end of term. It's the same format. You can use the same paper to take notes, to prepare for it, to keeping track of what evidence you have in the different areas that the student is being evaluated. And then you'll turn that in. I think you'll get the link November 27th. You'll finish it by December 7th. Yeah. And then if you are a supervisor that is needing to turn in a mileage report, you'll make sure you get that to us by the 12th. So those are the nuts and bolts of, the big dates and deadlines. Supervisors should plan on at least 4 observations. Some supervisors do many, many more. Some like to come every other week or like to meet with the student to talk about things prior to observing. At the very least, we want you to have an idea of what you're walking into to observe. So you can do a pre-conference via email with the student to get their lesson plans, their thoughts on the lesson, any questions that they have, so that you can give them a little bit of feedback based on not just what you see in the classroom, but also what you see in their planning. I think that I'll pause here and see if there's any questions just based on sort of this rough overview of how the timeline is going to work out. And then we can get into mentoring, resources and support that we have for you, and PD credits that are available. So any questions that folks have?
I have one.
Yeah.
The specific is specific to my student teachers. They're both in PE. So when will they make the switch from elementary to secondary?
So you can talk about that as you do the dates of internship forms with the teachers, but it's generally 8 weeks and 8 weeks.
Okay.
Sometimes, depending on their starting, it's more like 7 and 7 for those split placements. So you can sort of determine what a logical date is with the team. And if you need help or input or anything, you're welcome to reach out to me. But
Okay, got it.
yeah,
Just wanted to make sure that seems like the logical cutoff point, but I just wanted to make sure. I think that some of them are, if they tend to be more secondary inclined, they want to shorten up the
well,
oh, I'm done with this. We could so thank you. I
you
appreciate that.
use your teacher spidey senses, Joyce, and try to get them to have an even balance, because as we know, they may think that they're going to go to be a secondary teacher. They may end up being an elementary teacher. So we want to prepare them for all of it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's great. I just thought there might be something hard and fast, so I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Kim, I see your hands up.
Yes. Hi, Rebecca. It's nice to see you in person after so many conversations.
Yes.
I had a computer glitch for 4 days and lost everything on my computer that was in my email. So I wondered if you wouldn't mind, it's okay, I've recovered some of it. If you wouldn't mind resending any sort of handbooks or checklist and anything you think. I'm looking through my emails of what I have and I don't see anything. So would love to have it in my inbox if possible. And I'm sorry for that.
Oh, nothing we can do about these unforeseen circumstances like that. We can definitely get you everything again. Yes.
Thanks, Rebecca.
I will add it to my list right now.
Thank you. And Quinn, you have a question?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. Just one. My girl is spending half her time in middle school and half her time in high school. And is there you have any recommendation about number of visits, or we just kind of play that by ear, what we think needs to happen?
Oh, well, I recommend with a split placement that you do your first 2 visits in the first setting. And on that second visit, you do the midterm. And that closes out the first half of their experience. And then you'll do the next 2. Now, certainly if you want to pepper some more visits in there because it's needed, or it's, whatever your style is for how often you want to be there or what the intern needs, you can adjust. But then if you do the next 2 at the second site, then on that last visit, you can do the final evaluation if everybody's ready. Sometimes I schedule the final eval after, maybe a week after my last visit, but just depends on what's going on in the classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Emily.
Hi.
Hi.
I just had a quick question about my student teacher. So her 8 weeks is going to be done on November 1st, and then she makes her transition to the junior high PE position. And November 1st is actually my due date because I'm pretty far along pregnancy at this point.
Congratulations.
And I was wondering if she could be my long-term sub. Would the university be okay with her being a sub for 8 weeks, or does she have to go to the secondary position?
Ooh, I would love to say yes to you, but she has to have both content areas. And do that second part. If I think of any creative ideas for you, I will reach out. I'm writing your name down right now. But yeah, they need both of those because they're being certified for the full range. But I depending on how long you're going to be out, if it will continue after winter break, once they're done, December 7th, once that final eval is done, then the student is freed up and they may be interested in jumping in at that point. So you might, it's not the whole thing, but that might be helpful depending on how much you're able to take. Okay, Emily.
Perfect. Thank you.
Big semester ahead. All right. Let's see who else. Anne.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. Good to see you.
I just wasn't sure if my microphone was working.
Yeah.
I had a question about the W-9. So you said we'd receive an email from was it WageWorks or whatever?
Payment Works. Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything like that. I don't know if I need to fill one out. I guess, is there somebody I can reach out to ask about that specifically, or should I email Erin?
Did you send in your mentor or supervisor agreement?
No, not yet. I just have it filled out and I need to send it in. So we'll.
Okay, yeah, once I get that, I'll get that set up and that email will come to you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what initiates the payment works piece. So, great question. Other questions before we move on to just a few other items that I have to share with you? Sherma. Is your hand up?
Hi,
Or
can you hear me
do you
okay?
have a question? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't.
Well, you're cutting out a bit, Sherma. Did we lose her? Let's see.
I'm back. Are you?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry. I think it said recording or something. Oh, you froze again.
I can hear you. So go ahead and share your question.
Just one. Okay. I don't think I received a supervisor agreement unless I'm some through email.
We can have Erin check that, Sherma, and just make sure and email it again. It comes via email, so we'll have her check.
Summer, yours should have came on the 24th. It was a late one, I think.
Okay. And maybe let her know in the chat, Erin, just in case it's cutting out with the audio. All right, so a couple other things that oh, wait, sorry, Wallace and Melissa, I almost missed you. Wallace, let's have you go, and then Melissa, and then I'll share a little bit about sub-guidance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the form that's going to be mailed out or emailed out to us on October 1st that we're actually using for the evaluation, is that how significantly is it going to differ from the two assessment samples that are included in the student packet? Is it going to have the same scale of 1, 2, and 3 and all the exemplars?
Yeah, and that's what we're using for the midterm and end of term. And you may choose to use it for every observation. Many supervisors do take notes on that very same form and kind of build it over time. But some people like to use a variety of observation tools. So you are not required to use that at every observation. Use something that makes sense to you. I often will just open up an email to the student and keep track of the time marks, what I noticed the intern doing, and what I noticed their students doing. And I'll do that the whole time that I observe. And then I'll give some sort of culminating remarks and questions for them and email it to them. But everyone has their own style in terms of what to do for those, those 4 or more observations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Melissa.
Yeah, I'm up here in Spokane, and so my intern is up here. So my question is, well, this is my first time having a student teacher, so let alone having one from out of state, technically. So like who is our point of contact when we have questions about what all I need to do? I didn't see a checklist come through my email. It could be buried in my email somewhere. But just who's my point of contact if I have questions? Because I don't know.
You should have the same checklist that I do in your packet that you get, and Erin can write down your name and just double check that was set, that you were on the list to receive that. But you're the mentor teacher, right?
Yeah.
So the university supervisor who you're working with, is that you, Joyce?
Yes.
Joyce,
yes.
Melissa.
Hi, Melissa. How are you?
I'm good.
I apologize for not having gotten in touch with you. I am in Boulder, Colorado with my daughter's 3-day-old baby, and I'll be back this weekend. And so it's on the top of my list to get in touch with you, and we'll do that very soon. So
Perfect.
next week we're on.
Perfect.
And it's nice
Awesome.
to meet you.
Yeah.
Tell her congrats, Joyce, and congrats to your
Thank
family.
you.
Joyce has been supervising for us for a long time, does a fantastic job. So she's going to know a lot of the answers, and you all can reach out to me as well if you have, questions along the way. So one thing that I want to share is it was emailed to you, but I think it's worth just taking a little bit of time. I'm going to drop it in the chat. This is sort of the parameters for when student teachers can sub. Since COVID, we have become more flexible than the intern handbook says. And we're going to be continuing that this year, just recognizing that the needs of schools, the readiness of interns, and the ways that we can sort of meet everybody's needs and help maintain the internship experience, but also create as much space for students who are ready to take on, the responsibility of being the sub. We think that these new guidelines will set you up well to find a nice balance there. And you don't have to wait 8 weeks. That's what our handbook currently says. And that's just not realistic in this context. We know that there are some days that they're going to need to sub for the mentor teacher on the fly. But we want them to maintain at least 3 days per week with the mentor in the classroom. Our preference is that if for any reason there needs to be a sub, if the intern can stay in the classroom that they've been assigned to, and the veteran mentor teacher can bump out. And I'll just say, having had a lot of student teachers over the years in my own classroom, I know that that's a bit of a tough sell, but the intern is best prepared to be with the class that they've seen you running as a mentor teacher. And we know that once you've taught for a little while, you can flex with any sub plan that gets thrown at you. So every once in a while, they might end up out of your classroom. And if something extreme happens, somebody has to go out on long-term medical leave, there's a COVID quarantine situation, and you feel like it's outside of these guidelines, just get a hold of me or Dr. Taylor Rainey, who isn't able to make it here tonight, but is our director of teacher ed, and we'll give you some guidelines for whatever situation is coming up. And of course, we don't want students subbing if they don't seem ready to do that. So this isn't a push to have students subbing, but if it helps you in your school and the student is ready to take on that responsibility, we're going to be flexible.
Rebecca, I just wanted to say that we do get pushed to do that a lot. And I think that the pushback from us is that there's a certain amount of liability involved with this. And so I think we need to make sure that somebody's checking on these interns, a principal, a counselor, somebody is coming, not the janitor, but sometimes they're sticking their head in the door too. But we really do need to have people checking in on them.
Yeah.
Make sure that things are going okay.
And occasionally Dr. Rainey or myself, we need to have a hard conversation with a school leader who really thinks it's going to work out, or Dr. McConnell. Sometimes we have to say, listen, I know that this would fix a problem that you are trying to solve right now, but this is not a good fit, or there's not enough support for it. So we're happy to jump in if that becomes an issue. And if there's anything outside of the parameters that I shared in the chat, Dr. Rainey and I need to approve it. We'll talk to each other about it. If there needs to be a long-term plan in place, we'll reach out to a school leader. So yeah, keep us posted if there are things that are, we've already had some communication about some students who are being asked to long-term sub and may or may not be ready for that. And so we'll navigate that together as we go.
I think the key to this is if we ask ourselves, are these interns, will this intern still want to be a teacher at the end of this experience? And if the answer is no, if it's going to be that stressful, then they need to not be doing it.
Yeah, because we're looking at longevity in the profession. We want to prepare people well and support them through that gradual release of responsibility whenever that's possible. And we also have some interns that are honestly ready to step into the classroom with with more responsibility. So there's a whole range of things that we're that we're working through. Thanks. Erin's leaving in the chat a link to our mentor and supervisor resources that has the forms that you'll need to fill out and the internship handbook. And I'll just mention, you know, for those of you who have been mentoring for a long time, you probably already have really great strategies for supporting the students that you're working with. And for those people who are new, you might be like, where's the handbook of how to mentor people? And certainly the internship handbook has some tips for how the course of the internship might be able to look. But we also have a Google Classroom that will open up to any of you. I think Erin is sending out a link to that either maybe late this week, early next week. Erin, does that seem? I just sent it to her today.
What am I sending out?
The information about both PD and the Google Classroom that I sent to you. So Erin will pass that along to you. And so that has some asset-based coaching strategies or mentoring strategies that might just be something fresh that you haven't tried before, or a foundation that you want to add to. That is, you just use that Google Classroom however you want. You don't need to turn in assignments to me. You don't need to do things in order. Take what seems like it might be helpful. But if you do have feedback about the strategies that are shared there, or if you have ones that you think that I should include, feel free to drop me an email and let me know what you're thinking. I will also offer a midterm check-in sometime in October. I'm still figuring out the right date for it. That'll just sort of be an open Zoom meeting for people who are supervising and mentoring to chat about like what's going really well. And then if there are some challenges for you to share with one another, what your advice is, what you might try, what your questions are, so that we can also have sort of a, you know, that virtual space for conversation. And that will be much less of me talking and much more of you all sharing how it's going and leaning on each other. So we'll send out an invitation to that once the date is set. Any other questions? Oh, Erin, that's going to be emailed to you. Erin's going to, Erin Hash will email Erin Corwin and the other mentors and supervisors with a link to that Google Classroom and also a link to sign up for PD credits. So mentors, I'm happy to share that mentors are able to get up to you're able to get up to 3 PD credits. We will give you a code to cover the cost of up to 2 for working with our students, just as a small acknowledgement of all of the work that apprenticing people takes. And so we'll send out very detailed instructions. If you want, you can choose anywhere between 1 and 3 credits. Please sign up for only what you need. And if you want to have the discount on the 2, but add a 3rd credit, do it all in one transaction. And if you have any problem in the registration process, let me know while you're still in the registration process so that I can have someone walk you through it and help with any troubleshooting. The instructions will come with screenshots and a very clear path, I think, for you to sign up for those things. And those, you know, hopefully they help you with your recertification. Other questions or comments for the good of the group?
I have just one thing that that I'd like to just share. And I don't know if anybody else is finding this, but in lesson planning with our student teachers, they're very good at doing the long plans that they've learned to do in class. But when they start working with their mentor teachers, I'm finding that a lot of them are doing a lot of they follow the lead of their mentor teacher, and often that is nothing more than what they're going to teach. You know, it's the pages, it's the whatever. And I think that we need to guide them. It's my view that we need to guide them that the what is readily available in whatever program they're using, or maybe not as much in high school, but the how they're going to teach it is where we're going to find the differentiation, the kids that we need to be watching, that all of those, the strategies we're going to use, how we get them from small group to large group, all of those things that they need to think about, because it doesn't come automatically to them. And that's what lesson planning is. It's the how, not the what. And I get a lot of pushback on that sometimes, because the kids want to follow what their mentor teachers are doing.
Yeah, I hear that, Joyce. And we have included a simpler version of our U of I lesson plan template in the handbook based on feedback from previous years. Ours is extensive, the one that they will use when they create their lesson plans for the Ed TPA and whatnot. But one thing that I think is a great opportunity, I'm also a university supervisor. Our curriculum and instruction faculty, we serve as university supervisors to help keep us connected to the classroom and to see how students are, as they're leaving our program. And, one of the things that I think is a really cool opportunity during that process is sharing, sometimes there are classroom teachers that will have a lot of good examples for how they lesson plan that take those things into account. But there's also ones I'm sure that you know of from your classroom practice and from, supervising students over the years. Like, feel free to share different tools with the student. Certainly at the end of the day, our interns are guests in teachers' classrooms. And so the teacher, to a large degree, is going to determine how they go about co-teaching, co-planning, what the expectations are. But as a supervisor, you also have agency to come in and say, like, have you thought about what this lesson might look like if you were planning it in this sort of format? Or if you always ask yourself these questions about a lesson that you're getting ready to teach. And that can be part of your pre-conference conversation with them or pre-conference email with them. So there's a lot of creativity in here, depending on the school, the student, the mentor classroom, the supervisor. You're all coming together as a team to support that student, through their internship. And so, use your creativity and feel free to share tools with each other as they seem sensible to you. So I think this is the point in the meeting where I say, if you still have questions and want to hang out with us, you are welcome to. I'm going to stick around until everybody has gotten the answers that they need about things and had the chance to make sure that they understand anything that isn't clear. But for the rest of you, you've had a long day. You have plenty of work ahead of you. And so you're welcome to sign off, be in touch with Erin, with myself, as questions arise along the way. And also, feel free to reach out and share celebrations with us. I am often in a position that I enjoy, which is problem solving, but I love to hear the celebrations and the things that are going really well. So, if your student just has an awesome lesson that they share with the kiddos in your classroom, send me an email about it, or have them say, hey, the university would probably like to know that this went really well today. And it can be something really short. It doesn't have to be fancy, but keep us posted on the things that are going well, and have a good semester. All right. Oh, Melissa, you have another question.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the schedule, and this might be in the handbook and stuff that I haven't read yet. But so my intern's been hanging out with me even starting last week during like PD and stuff, when school just started on Tuesday this week. And so this week he's just been observing, hanging out with the kids, getting to know the kids, interacting with them and stuff, but I'm leading everything. And then next week we kind of planned on having him, like, me teach a couple classes, then he do the same lesson with because we're PE, so we do the same thing multiple times a day. So is there like a schedule of like when he is supposed to like fly a little bird, like he's leading a majority of the time?
I mean, it sounds like you're doing it to me, Melissa. You're doing great. Yeah, especially for, split placements, that could be a little tricky, like figuring out the time, how to share the time. But I love that you get to repeat some of the same lessons. So, you can pass the baton back and forth. There is an outline in the internship handbook, but I think you're already naturally doing what you need to do. And that is always something that's worked out, between the mentor and the intern, and, just paying attention to how things are going in the classroom. What's the group of students like, or what are the many groups of students like, and what makes sense. So yeah, just a gradual release of responsibility. You give them as much responsibility as they can handle, and then have enough time to transition in a logical way before they leave you. But in between that, there's a lot of different ways that it'll work well. So it sounds good to me so far.
Okay, perfect.
See people dropping off and some of you hanging around too. So keep the questions coming if you have them. Thanks, Kim. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you. Bye,
Nice
everyone.
to see you. Yeah, Wallace,
Okay.
you got another one for me, huh?
Yeah, because I'm new to this, I just want to get an idea that I'm on the right track. So I looked at the calendar for the next couple months, and I realized, okay, they're just starting. I had these two students. One today was just her third day, and the other started earlier last week. But I looked at the calendar and I figured, okay, if I'm trying to do at least 4 observations and 2 evaluations, that's 6 times, right? And I've just started coming every other week as of the week of the 18th of September, and I'm done by the 1st of December. So is that about right?
I
So I've
mean,
got 2 observations that are 2 weeks apart, and then 2 weeks later is the midterm, and then 2 weeks after that is number 4, and 2 weeks after that is number 5, and then the last one is the week of the 27th of November through the 1st of December. Is that
Yeah.
a good calendar?
It sounds good to me. You might also find an efficiency, especially since I know you're taking a ferry boat to your students that you're
Yeah.
observing. You might find that it works to do the first observation and then at the second observation, do the midterm. And
Oh.
then, like you watch them and then they have time during prep or after school to debrief and go over if you have enough evidence. Or you might find that like maybe the third observation is the one where you want to do the midterm.
Yeah.
The
yeah, that's what I'm
evaluation
saying.
meetings and the observation meetings do not have to be separate.
Oh.
Sometimes there's no good way to do it on the schedule, so it doesn't work out so that you can be ultra efficient. But
Okay, so like if on the second one she's knocking it out of the park, I can say, this should not be just an observation. I'm ready to evaluate you. You're doing great so far. That kind of thing? Or do I
yeah,
need
but
to get an advance the evaluation?
I think you should set up in advance. If it's going to be an evaluation, you're going to need a little more time during that debrief conversation. So I don't think you can decide just while you're watching the person, because it's going to be evidence from you, from the mentor teacher, and from the intern. So everybody should
Yeah.
know a couple days in advance of when that's going to be. But if you feel like it's going to be that way after watching them the first time, say, hey, the next time I come, I'd like to do a midterm. We're going to assess where we're at so we know how you need to grow for the rest of the semester. And then set it up so that your very last time that you come can also be the end of term evaluation meeting. And you might end up there 4 times. You might end up there 5 or 6. Whatever you think is appropriate for the situation that, each of your interns will be different. So they might not need the same thing also.
And I've had my initial conference with them and the mentor teachers by today. I had one Tuesday and
Awesome.
the other earlier this morning. And we've lined up this calendar. It looks like it's going to work pretty well. And luckily I've got them all to be on the same days. So I'm going basically every other Tuesday. In the morning I'll go to one, in the afternoon the other. So
how fantastic, because you're driving, you're going a fair bit.
It's still 12 ferry rides. Yeah, the other people probably don't realize. I'm in Bremerton and I'm doing the 2 students who are in Western Washington. So I'm
Oh,
going
got it.
across the Seattle area, on the east side.
I want to take a ferry boat to
Far
work.
east is for you,
So-
though.
Can I, Rebecca, can I make a suggestion on that?
Yeah.
I think your schedule is great, but then do set up some kind of a weekly communication with them so that you are having some ongoing communication, because it's not very many times that we're meeting. So if you can have a weekly little, ask a couple of questions that are pointed at some particular, some particular strategy or something, how are you doing with this or that, and get something back, and the same with their mentor teacher, then they feel at the end that they have really had lots of input and lots of supervision. If you only go 4 times, should it turn out, even when they're really great, sometimes they feel like they have not gotten enough from us. And so I've had a few think that's it. I mean, that's because we built this up. This is the big deal, as they finish that. So that would be the only thing that I would add. And then make sure you're watching your email on those off weeks, so that if they have questions or needs, that you can meet those.
Yeah, I mean, some of our supervisors ask their interns that they're working with to email them with an update every Friday afternoon and include the mentor.
Yeah.
There are some easy communication strategies that you can come up with. But there are a fair number of people who, really stick to the number of observations. They set a minimum number, and then they're ready to flex and keeping in touch as things go on, just sort of dependent on needs. So you'll have to let us know, Wallace, at the end what works for you. Joyce has her routine down like that. So she's had a little while to develop it with our students. And
I just do a lot of driving not ferry riding, but a lot of driving sometimes from where I live in Washington. Often I'm in Spirit Lake, or I'm in, various places, and it's 40 or 50 miles to get there. And so you do have to get it really organized. It's very similar. But I've just found that if I can really have some email communication or a Zoom meeting here and there, that you can add that in and not have to travel all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Ryan or Jessica? Oh, sorry, Wallace, for you to. Okay. Ryan or Jessica, do you have questions that I can answer for you?
I do have a question.
Okay.
On dates, looking at the calendar, trying to figure out how long my student teacher will be in the classroom with me. Are we expecting them to be in the full semester, or for 16 weeks, or?
Yeah, so 16 weeks is the typical student teaching duration. And they're out of your classroom technically by December 7th. We can't hold them past that. Graduation is that weekend.
Okay.
So having said that, some students do want to stay at least until winter break, and some through the end of the semester. If you're on a semester that ends, say in January, I have come to learn that is a real luxury. Not all of our students can afford to do that after an unpaid internship where they're paying tuition and everything else. And so I always worked creatively. I usually had my student teachers in the summer or in the spring. And so once they were out for summer break in May from the university, I still had 3 weeks to a month of school left. And so we would come up with some creative ways for them to stay and see the end of the year that included things like, maybe they sub 3 days a week and they're in the classroom 2, or they're subbing 2 days a week and they're in the classroom for 3, if they can do it. But, not all of our students can afford that time. So it's sort of, it'll be up to what they feel like they can do.
One last question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, go ahead. I'll ask.
We're expecting them to be there through December 7th, but if they stay longer, not a big deal.
Yeah, it's a total bonus. And we encourage them to, as faculty, we say, take as much time as you can to learn from these folks, because, once you're in your own classroom, you don't have a teaching buddy to help you, to mentor you. And so, you know, if they can stay, they'll let you know that. But that's a great conversation when you're having the dates of internship to say, okay, when are we officially ending and doing the final? And then when do you really plan to leave, so that we can make sure that you don't just disappear from the classroom once you've endeared yourself to the students and staff here. You know, we want to have an exit strategy of some sort. So that's a great conversation to bring up with the intern. Thanks, Wallace.
I was just going to ask, COVID is raising its ugly head again.
Yep.
If we have kids that are out for a week, full week, what's the university's stand on that?
Well, we're going to work around it just like the rest of the world. We're
Okay.
going to figure it out as we go.
But we're not expecting makeup days?
I don't think so. I mean,
okay.
All right. They should let us know if they need to be out. And, you know, not for a dental appointment or for, you know, one day of being gone for something that's prearranged. But if there's an extreme situation, they're welcome to let us know and let us know what they need. We certainly want them to comply with any policy that a school has in place about COVID, about masking, whatever the policies are. That's what we're expecting of them. And, you know, I can't imagine, maybe there's some extreme situation where a student might have to have a full stop to their student teaching if they got really sick and then re-enter at another date. But usually like the 5-day quarantine or whatever, we're just gonna say, oh darn, that was a bummer. And you know, if they're feeling good when they're at home, they might be developing some lesson plans or looking at student work that the teacher can send them. But we mostly want them to rest up and get back there healthy, because if they drop, their teacher's probably about to.
But no makeup days expected then.
No, but if it's going to be in excess of a couple days, we need to know about it so that we can, you know, keep track and make sure that they're. But yeah, we're going to be flexible. We're going to do what we've been doing, Joyce.
Okay.
We'll make it.
Just want to make sure that.
Okay. Y'all set?
Thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
It's really fun to hear everybody's questions. I learn from everybody else every time. And I've been doing this for 15 years and I learn something every time. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, we'll see you soon, Joyce.
I'll be back soon. Thanks so much. Bye.
Okay, bye.